Have you ever looked at a garden that's just bursting with life and wondered, what's the secret? Well, I'll tell you, it's not some magic fertilizer. The real secret to an amazing harvest is hidden right under our feet. So today, let's dig in and figure out why soil is the true foundation of a great garden. And that really is the heart of it, isn't it? Choosing, or, more importantly, building the right soil, that's probably the single most impactful decision you can make as a gardener. It really does set the stage for everything else. So that's the big question, right? What's the real difference? In this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to break down. We're going to take a journey from the most common problems gardeners run into, all the way to the practical solutions that'll help you create a garden that absolutely thrives. Okay, so let's start with that hidden problem. See, the thing is, great gardens aren't just planted. They are built from the ground up. And if things are going wrong, the issue almost always starts with a foundation that, honestly, most people never even think to check. This is where all that frustration comes in. You feel like you're doing everything else right, the watering, the sun, but if your soil is too dense or way too sandy, you end up with plants that just can't get what they need. Their roots are either drowning in water or they're starving for nutrients. All right, so if that's the problem, what on earth does the solution look like? Well, in the world of gardening, there's an ideal. There's a benchmark that pretty much all other soils are measured against. And that benchmark is loam. You're going to hear this term a lot, and for good reason. They call it gardener's gold. It's not actually one single thing, but it's this perfect, balanced mix of 3 different particle types. It gives your plants the absolute best of all worlds. This specific balance is the whole secret. That 40% sand, that creates tiny air pockets so the roots can breathe. The 20% silt acts kind of like a sponge, holding on to just the right amount of moisture. And that last 20% of clay, well, that acts like a magnet for all the essential minerals and nutrients. It's this exact recipe that makes loam so incredibly productive. Now, of course, very few of us are lucky enough to just find perfect loam in our backyards. Most of us are starting with something on a spectrum of different soil types. And looking at it as a spectrum is the perfect way to think about it. I don't want you to see these as good soils or bad soils. They're just different starting points. Every single one has its own unique properties, its own strengths, and its own weaknesses too. So let's compare the two you're most likely to find. On one hand, you have sandy loam. It's fantastic for root veggies like carrots because it's so loose, but it dries out super fast. On the other hand, you have clay loam. This stuff is a nutrient powerhouse, perfect for hungry plants like broccoli, but it can get really dense and waterlogged. So you see, the key is knowing what you have, because that tells you what you can grow easily. Okay, now for my favorite part. This is where we stop talking about the soil you have and start talking about the soil you can create. This is where you, the gardener, get to take control. If you're using raised beds, you can basically just bypass your native soil entirely with this proven recipe. It's often called Mel's Mix, and it's famous for a reason. It perfectly balances the nutrition from the compost, the moisture retention from peat moss or coco coir, and the aeration from vermiculite. You get this incredibly lightweight, perfect growing medium every time. Now, whether you're filling a brand new raised bed or just trying to improve the ground you've already got, there is one ingredient that is absolutely non-negotiable, and that's compost. People call it black gold because it's the single most powerful thing you can add to improve any soil type. It adds nutrients, it improves the structure, and it feeds all the microbial life that keeps your garden healthy. And the best part is, you can make this black gold yourself. It's honestly simpler than you think. You just need to balance your carbon-rich browns, things like dried leaves and cardboard, with your nitrogen-rich greens, like kitchen scraps. Keep the pile a little moist, turn it every week or two to get some oxygen in there, and, well, nature does the rest. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, pun intended. Let's pull all this information together into a super clear, actionable plan that you can use to get started, like, right now. Think of this as your personal cheat sheet. It lines up each soil type with its biggest advantage and what it's best for. So whether you're working with natural loam or a custom raised bed mix, this is your quick reference guide for matching the right soil to your gardening goals. So here it is, your final 3-step plan. Step 1, assess. Figure out what you're starting with. A simple jar test is great for this. Step 2, decide. Are you going to work with the soil you have, or are you going to build some raised beds? And finally, step 3, create. Build your ideal soil using that all-important compost and any other little amendments your soil needs. It's a simple process, but it is so powerful. At the end of the day, investing in your soil is really an investment in the health of your plants and, honestly, the joy you get from gardening. You're not just growing vegetables, you're creating a tiny, living ecosystem. So the only real question left is, what will you build first?